Welcome to Black Chat. It's Hassan. To my right, you got Paul, that I almost never agree with, and we have Robbie J on my left. This will be a two-parter. This one is questions you're afraid to ask white people. Are you ready for this, Rob?
I'm very excited
I'll
to
answer
answer
first.
these questions.
Go ahead, bro.
And piss half out the audience. Go ahead.
Do you ever think about your whiteness or what it means to be white?
Never. I have never. That question has never popped in my head, nor have I ever given it any amount of consideration. So it's just not a big deal to me. Now I know Paul has something to say on this, but I just, it just seems weird to think about that. I don't get up in the morning and be like, I'm white today. Yep. I don't do that. So I don't know what the question really is. I looked at that earlier and I was like, I don't know what this means. But I think that it's strange to wake up and think about your identity in the morning. I really don't care. I know I'm a big nose fat guy. That's pretty much the realm that I live in. And I don't really care about anything outside of that.
Well, I have one more. This is something that we didn't get from.
Okay, go ahead.
Shit. I think I asked you this question before.
Yep.
Why don't white people use washcloths?
Yo, that's a good one.
That's what I heard. I don't know if you actually do because I'm not in the bathroom with you. But
Well, it's funny because when you buy the set, I always look at that little like square piece and I'm like, what the hell is this for? I don't understand. Like, why are they giving you a towel, a hand towel, and a baby towel? I don't understand. I don't have any babies in the house, so I don't know what I'm supposed to use this for. Is this for the toddlers? I don't know. So I throw it right in the trash can. I'm just like, I'm just not dealing with it. I just don't. So no, we don't use that. We use loofahs. Have you ever heard of those?
Yeah, we're a loofah.
Yeah, you got it, because you have to exfoliate. That's really important to your.
that's what the washcloth does.
Does it though?
Yes.
So where are you using the washcloth? Are you putting it like all over? Are you using it on your unmentionables? Where does the washcloth go? I don't understand.
The same place you put your loofah.
Well, I don't like that. I don't know if
Hold on. Where do you put your loofah? Where do you put it? Where does it go?
there's no. I'll put it this way: there's no place the loofah doesn't touch.
Wow.
It's all.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Is that where you're putting the washcloth?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It's just that when you use a washcloth, people wash their face. We just don't use the same cloth for both.
Well, that makes sense because.
Yeah.
Okay, because that was my next question
Yeah.
for you is going to be, where is the last place you're using your washcloth? And I think I know the answer to that.
You get 2 separate washcloths. Sometimes it's 3.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't use any. I just use my loofah.
Mm.
And I don't use that on my face for obvious reasons.
Good.
Yeah,
That's good.
cheers.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Appreciate
That's
y'all.
good. That's good. All right, now I got a question to follow that up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is something that I know a lot of people want to know. Is when it comes down to white people and the white race, why is it that when you go in the bathroom and you handle your business, you don't wash your hands? And we see this all the time.
Mm.
A lot of
This is a white person thing?
white people. A lot of white people do not wash their hands.
I just thought it was a nasty person thing. Like I don't know about that. Like, let me tell you something. I'll be honest with you, Paul. If there's sometimes I'm in a rush, if I'm going number one, as we'll put it up for the podcast, if I'm going number one, I know what's going on down there. I know it's pretty fresh, right? So sometimes I'll just roll out. Now, if this is not for at work now, I want, because we got people at work that may be watching this. I don't want them thinking I do this at work. I wash my hands at work. And there's a reason for that is because when you're in polite society, you may be asked to shake someone's hand. And in that case, you do not want to be shaking my hand after it's been in my nether places. I think everyone would agree on that. So I always wash my hands at work, but there may be a time where I'm at home. If I'm working outside, I run in to use the bathroom. I don't care because I'm going right back out and working in the dirt again. What difference does it make? I think it's situational in those cases. So, but to answer your question, I have seen a lot of nasty people that will not wash their hands. That's true. I haven't looked at the race of the individuals, but I'll take your word for it. It's much like the smoke detector thing. I don't know. I think that's kind of universal, but it's funny. It's kind of a black trope, whereas this one may be a white trope. So,
You know what? I have something to piggyback off of that question.
Sure.
Since we're talking about washing hands.
yep.
Why is it that a lot of white people will talk to you, and it's while you're at the urinal?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh man.
like I don't understand that.
I'll
Like,
get it.
I'm standing there, and they'll just start talking and looking at me. I'm like, I'm not looking at you while I got my stuff in my hand, pissing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, why?
So our producer Logan and I talk about this frequently, which is there is a man code.
Mhm.
And if you're not familiar with man code, then you probably should look it up because you're probably a violator of man code, which is that there are several rules that you need to adhere to in the bathroom. Number one is that you don't look at anyone in the eye. Number two, you don't look at what anyone is doing in the bathroom. Number three is that you do not have conversations. I make the joke all the time that if Jesus walked into the bathroom, I would act like I had never met him. It's just the truth. That is not a space for social interaction whatsoever. That is a space to get your business done. I would even go as far as to say that man code is universal, whether you are homosexual or heterosexual. Everyone abides by the same rules. It doesn't matter what your interest is. In the bathroom is a sacred place, and everyone tends to honor that, except for a select few that seem
Correct.
not to.
Correct.
And when they don't, it's jarring because sometimes you'll be there and you'll be holding yourself, and someone wants to have a whole conversation, and you're like, listen, right now I have my manhood in my hands. I really don't want to think about you in this moment. I just want to concentrate on doing my business and getting the hell out of the bathroom. So I've had people talk to me while I'm at the urinal. I've had people talk to me while I'm washing my hands, which is not as great as a violation, but still violates man code. I've had people talk to me while we're heading into the bathroom and continue the conversation as we walk to the urinal. That's inappropriate. Hassan will tell you that when he and I, if we happen to go to the bathroom at the same time, I'm very particular about it, which is that once we get to the the frame of the bathroom, I stop all conversation. I act like I've never met him before in my life. And then once we walk out of the bathroom, I'll wait for him, he'll wait for me, and then we'll continue our conversation like there was no interruption. I hope that answers your question.
Wow.
Yeah. White people are strange folk. I mean, I'll give them that.
Interesting.
Have you ever felt guilty or responsible for racism?
Me personally?
Yes.
No, not at all. No. I think that so racism is a difficult topic because, as we've talked about, we have a obvious history in the United States that deals with racism, that deals with slavery, things like that. But do I think about it? No, because I know personally I'm not responsible for that. Now, does it bother me when I see other instances where that happens? Absolutely. That bothers me as a human being, not as a white person, as a human. I don't like anyone being treated lesser than. I don't like anybody feeling like they're not part of the society that we've created. I understand there's some institutional things which we'll get into, I'm sure, in later episodes. But I'm a big believer in a merit-based system where I believe that the highest performer is the person that should succeed. I'm a big believer in treating people with respect and dignity at all times, unless they don't deserve it. Like, for example, you'll hear, well, I treat everyone with dignity and respect. And I'm like, even a murderer, you would treat them with respect? I mean, you see, there's everyone is a general, and that's what I really hate about our country is that everyone throws out these generalities all the time, and they're not specific. I like to be specific. I'm not going to give someone respect who's a racist. I'm just not going to do it. If I know you're a closet racist, I don't have any respect for you. That ain't right. But do I think about it? Absolutely not, because I don't think I am someone who goes around with that kind of attitude or treating people that are lesser than me, things like that. I mean, if you remember, this podcast was my idea. So I'm going to take credit for that. I'm just kidding. But
So saying that, how
Yes.
do you feel about how two people can commit the same crime and a GoFundMe is created for each,
Yep.
but the black one is shut down?
Was it shut down?
Yeah,
Yes.
just recently, and it keeps happening.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Last
for
night,
example, what's the guy name?
What, Alex Henry?
That's the last one, but the other one from some years ago. How am I forgetting his name?
I know what you're talking
The
about.
hoodie.
Yeah.
the guy with the
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin.
how they raised money for his murderer, and nothing is said. They just, okay, yeah, he needs it. He needs it. But anytime where we can commit the same exact crime, or not even
Yep.
the same exact crime, it could be something totally different, and they'll shut ours down.
Well, I think you know the reason why. I mean, it's pretty obvious, don't you
Oh.
think?
But like, how about the other one that's recent though, right? where that lady called like
Yes,
the black kid the N-word,
that's correct.
and her GoFundMe got up to over $600,000 and was still growing.
It's even more than that. I think it's
It's
almost.
it's more than that, but
It's even more than. I think it's a
but
million now. Almost.
yeah, so but it's still going. But you shut down somebody, you know what I'm saying? But like it's a difference in generality.
So I don't want to speak. So the difficulty here is that I don't want what I'm about to say to sound like this is my opinion, but this is what I have heard. And what I have heard is that the difference is that a lot of folks feel like this case in Texas, where this gentleman was stabbed in the tent uh, by this young African American or black guy, as we say. And the issue with that was we don't know all the facts of the case yet. So what I would say in that case is that much like Jesse Smollett, when that came out and he said that somebody put a noose around his neck and stuff like that, I'm always the first thing that I do, and everybody will, because people know I'm very politically like motivated. I like politics. I like talking about. I like debating things. The first things people did as soon as Jesse Smollett come out, they were like, "What's your opinion on this case?" And I said, "I don't have one," because I think one of the problems with America is we always jump to conclusions without knowing all the facts. Now, in that case, it turned out that he was a big piece of shit hoaxer. But what happened in this Texas case, I want to be clear to say I don't know the facts, so I'm not going to speak to that. I think that the undercurrent is that folks think that he just attacked a white guy. That's the underlying theme. Whether that's right or not, we'll find out as the case goes on. We need to figure that out first. I do think that there is inherent bias in our system. I've always believed that. I still think that to this day. I may be on the right-wing side of things, but I also tend to agree that we can't ignore the human experience. People have different experiences. It's important to bring those experiences when you're having conversations. I can't speak to your experience. You can't speak to mine. But I do think that there is an inherent bias in our culture. You could call it racism. You call it what you want against black people. I think that that's undeniable. Anyone making the claim opposite, I think, is full of it. But that's what I've seen. So I do think that in those instances, we see that shut down. Now, for this woman who has almost $1 million, I think what you're seeing is that a lot of folks are tired of race in general. So what they're doing is they're making a statement. In both cases, I think, to a reasonable aspect, because if you looked at the comments under this gentleman's post that he made, or for this GoFundMe, or what is it? It's not GoFundMe. It's something. I don't remember what it's called, but the way in which they raised the money on this, Send Fund Go or whatever it's called, the comments underneath were very racist towards the white kid who was killed in this situation. So too, when you looked at this woman's the GoFundMe type apparatus, it's the same thing. It's just what we're seeing right now is a racial division in America. It's continuing to separate us. And I just think there's no way around it. So what you've seen is a reverberation from some white folks that are just like, oh, I'm just going to donate to, I don't agree with anything she said, but I'm going to donate to this campaign just to stick it to black people. I think that there is a swath of that in the United States right now.
But don't you think that the division has always been there, but just now because of social media is just more out in the forefront?
I guess. I mean, I don't know, because it depends on who you talk to. Some people I talk to are just like, I've never seen, Hassan and I have had this conversation. I don't know that I've seen racism in my lifetime, and I found that surprising. I guess, yes, you're right to say that social media has connected the racists, with the essay abusers with the essay abusers, and it's created their own enclaves where you can have different people who have sometimes disgusting opinions, creating a little network. I mean, I do think that that's inherent in social media in and of itself. I don't know if that answers your question, but I do think at a base level, does that exist in the United States? Yes. Is it going to continue to exist here? Absolutely. Can we eradicate it? No. It's never going away. I'm going to tell you right now. There is nothing you can do about racism. It will always exist here. Always. It's built into our country. It's been here since the beginning. It'll be here at the end. Guaranteed.
You know, saying that, I've heard, and Paul, you probably heard this, where racism probably stems from is like on the last episode when we talked about black athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of times, why are they so much better at this? You know, and we are, but I also know that we're not the best at everything.
Right.
You know, so from what I've heard from different people is that they believe, why are black people so good at this? Why? You know, it's just like before when there were just all white baseball teams, basketball teams,
Mhm.
football teams. The moment we stepped into that arena, we kind of
We
took
take it over.
everything.
Yeah.
And they say that's where some of the racism probably comes in. That's where it was probably originated from. And not only that, if you go back to even, you know, the myth that all black men are well endowed,
hmm
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? That also, you know, it comes from a bunch of different places, because how can you just not like an entire race?
Look at it like this, right? So, because we're on this racism part, has everyone ever seen a baby, like a newborn baby? When you look at, if, let's say, a black person holds a white baby, nothing happens, right? He gravitates to that person because like they go off of like your soul, your heart, right? White person holds a black baby, same exact thing. But as they grow up, if that child is that of a racist house,
Because
racism,
racism is taught.
racism is taught.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why you talk about racism in this country, the reason why it will always be here is because you have people that are racist that are still teaching racism. So for racism to be truly eradicated in this country, you got to have like-minded people, which is few and far between, because the only way racism, like if you're in a generation of people that's still teaching racism, it's going to continue to live and thrive on. But you got to somehow, some way, eventually, that has to be eradicated. That part has to be eradicated because racism is a taught thing.
Not only that, you also have to take into account where a particular race or a person from a particular race has done something
Mhm.
to someone. And now that person just say, oh, I hate black people just
Yeah.
because of that one thing, or I hate white people because of that one thing.
Right,
And it also stems from there.
right.
It's just like the story with Eminem. Like they released a song not too long ago. The background on it is
Mhm.
he was dating a black girl, and she broke his heart.
Yeah.
So then he made a whole racist song about her. You know, but is he racist?
Mm.
You see?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
And also, I'll also tell people a lot that, you know, out of all the races, especially here,
Mhm.
why aren't all black people racist? Because of what was done to us. Shouldn't we hate white people? All of us. I'm talking about every single black person.
Mm.
But we're not. Some people say we're too forgiving.
Have you ever heard forgive but don't forget?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You forgive, but you don't forget. You don't forget what was done to you. You don't forget what's being done to you. And you don't forget what is happening to you.
Mm.
Because once you turn your eye to it, or you just act like it doesn't exist, then that's when you could let down your guard and something bad can happen to you. You see what I'm saying? Because, like, trust me, like, I can tell you that when I travel, my family like, hey, be careful, mind your P's and Q's, X, Y, and Z. Why? Because, like, when I say that I have been, like, people can look at my license plate. Cops, I literally had a cop pull up behind me and trail me to why, because of my license plate. Because it's a custom plate. That happened, like, literally. Like, I went to a pilot meet a couple weeks ago. I went through, like, a country town, which I know is probably predominantly white. This cop trailed me for like 15 miles, and I was driving the speed limit. And like, I seen what I seen what he did. He literally sped up to read my plate, tailed me to see what I was going to do. And when he seen that I was driving under the speed limit, he dropped his speed and did a U-turn in the road and went back the other way.
You see, a lot of that I really can't speak on because I talked to you about it, Rob. I've
Yep.
never firsthand witnessed
Yeah.
racism.
Yeah.
Like I've never, you know, like directed at me. I've never witnessed it.
Yeah. The hardest thing that I've ever experienced was I was deployed. Like, we was in California. I was deployed. And my wife put a video on Facebook because she was traumatized. My daughter was in the back seat of a van. White guy called her up. The N word. Do you know I had to literally find a way to call my daughter to let her know that everything was all right and I was deployed? I'm in the military fighting for this country, and that's what y'all do?
Was it a cop or just
No,
someone?
this was a white civilian.
Okay.
Wife ain't never experienced that. My daughter ain't never experienced that. That was hard.
Yeah.
Because I was not there. They ain't have to deal with that. And that was in Cali. And then to piggyback, and so yeah, I've experienced it from both sides.
All right, the next one.
All right.
Do you have any real black friends or just coworkers and acquaintances?
Look at the podcast. I guess. I don't know what to tell you. I do think it's cringe when white people say, "Well, I have black friends," like because you know that they're about to say something really racist right
Yep.
after that comment, right?
Yep.
That always makes me laugh. I just have the friends that I have. I don't really care.
Right.
I mean, if I had all white friends, then I have all white friends. It's just I don't have a ledger that I keep in my house where I'm just like, I need an Asian person to be my friend today. I don't do that. Like, it to me, friendships are organic, and if you can't make a friendship organically, I'm not interested anyway. You know, you see this concept. This is outside of race, but you see this concept at work frequently, which is called FaceTime.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need to get in front of the boss so that they know what your face looks like. So I'm not, I've never done that. I don't care whether you know me or not. What's important to me is whether or not we have a real connection or not. I'm not going to just seek you out because I need to get my next promotion. I'm never going to do that. So too will I never seek anyone out because you meet some sort of quota for me for a friend. I'm just not going to do that. So I don't need to surround myself with a whole bunch of black people to prove anything. And that is a big problem, I think, if I may, in the white community, is that we think we need to showcase something. Well, I need to show you that I'm not racist. No, you don't need to showcase that. You need to just not be a racist, right? You don't need to pontificate about it. That's Logan's favorite word. Or you don't need to do things like that. You just need to live your, as people will say, I think that's cringe too, live your truth. But it's true. You need to live the way that you think that you should live, and you should not be considered with what appearances look like. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what you assume about me based on how I act or whether I have a giant nose or whether I talk to you while we're in the bathroom holding our junk. I'm not going to do that kind of thing. And I think that's important to just be a well-rounded person and not have social expectations, if that answers your question.
But, you know, I can kind of see why they would try to change their appearance and get some more black friends or let it be known or be seen that they have more black friends, because the show is about stereotypes.
Right.
And a lot of one of the white stereotypes in black households is that all white people are racist. So you have to also understand that that particular person who does those types of things maybe, okay, I need to prove it. I need to prove that I'm not. So I can kind of see why they would.
I've never felt the need to prove myself. I don't really care. If someone thinks I'm a racist just because I exist, that's their problem. I don't care. I really don't.
Shit,
You say whatever you want about me.
I have more white friends than black friends. So,
Well,
hold on, let me show you now.
I don't.
Logan.
Yeah.
Logan.
Well, I can tell you that like I don't have that many friends at all because it's hard for me to trust people.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah. So that's just me being completely honest with you.
Yeah.
The only people I consider my friends are the ones who've never turned their back on me. I'm talking about 10, 20 years. Robert, I consider him a friend.
Right.
Because he's done things for me. We had these conversations. Logan, you know, at first we weren't too.
Yeah.
You know, but now Logan's my guy.
Yeah.
You know, you have to really use that word, lightly.
Right.
Calling someone your friend.
Right.
Because people who I thought were my friends, I don't even talk to now.
Right.
And I'm talking about 30 years.
Right. And I can co-sign that. Like for me, a person that has been hurt way too many times, I don't have a lot of friends. I don't. I mean, because even family will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it like that. Now, I got a question for you.
Go ahead, mate.
All right. So like the last series, like we talked about parenting. All right. So I want to know, why is it that in the white community, you have a lot of kids that are very disrespectful? They say, I hate you, and they call you names, and they just don't listen, and they go completely haywire. Why is there no real discipline in the white community?
I mean, I'm going to answer the question, which is that there's no discipline in any damn community right now. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay.
I think children raised right now are absolutely disgusting. I think they're rude, arrogant. They have no concept of what people have been through. You look at our respect for old people as a country is non-existent.
Mm.
I think it's unilateral. I don't think that that's just based on one community, but I will answer the question about white people, which is to say that I think what we saw, and I'm gonna throw baby boomers under the bus. What we saw is the baby boomers are probably one of the most selfish generations that I've ever seen. And I have two parents that are baby boomers, and they're going to be upset at this episode, but I'm going to tell the truth. And I think what they've created is very insular communities where folks are just looking at themselves. You learn. If we agree that racism is taught.
Mhm.
We would also probably agree that selfishness is taught. And I think when you grow up in a selfish household, or you have parents who are only concerned about what they get out of it, I hear this constantly, and I'm going to bring up a social topic for the moment. I hear this constantly about Medicare. I hear this constantly about Social Security. Well, what about mine? Well, what about mine? Well, what about yours? Is it really worth bankrupting the country so that you can get yours? Is it really worth it? And I'm talking to the baby boomers when I make this statement. My thing is we're in an economic crisis here. We have a debt that is insurmountable, and we also have funding lines that are going to go insolvent in 2030. That is freaking 5 years from now. But yet, anytime you mention to a baby boomer, we may need to cut this, they're like, don't you touch mine, don't you touch mine. And I'm like, why? Why are you so much more important than everyone else? Why do I, as a millennial, or my kids as a Gen Alpha or a Gen Z, why do they have to pay for your continued BS when you've had retirement accounts? The original concept behind Social Security was to give the silent generation something to fall back on. We don't need it anymore. Do you need your Social Security? I don't. I have a retirement account. I have a pension. I have these things that I've built. So my thing is, when we're looking at these kind of activities, we need to be honest and just say we've created a culture of just absolute, I'm looking out for me. And I think that's trickling down into our younger generation. I really do think it's a culture of selfishness, where it's just like, well, if I can't get what I want out of the system, then F the system, or F my parents because they don't understand. So from a white person perspective, I've seen it too. I can't really speak to each individual family, things like that. People grow up in different situations, which may cause some of that angst and some of that lashing out that you see kids do. But I think overall, I can't attribute it to race. I just can't. I think it's universal. I really think we have a problem with respecting authority in this country. We have a problem with respecting our elders. We have a problem with understanding that people are trying to do their best in a society that may turn their back on them, and that we need to be more cognizant of other people. I think that's very important, and that's just lacking.
Okay, just to switch it up a little bit.
Okay, switch it up.
SNL, they've done this skit. Now, I know black people, we do it, because I know I've done it. On the news, when there's a crime, do you try to guess who did it?
You mean what the race
If
of the
it's
person
black
is?
or white. I've done it. So, SNL has done this skit. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's hilarious. They're competing, point system, who did it? Do you do that? When there's a crime, someone says someone did it. You said probably a black guy.
Yeah, I just assume it's always a black person, always.
Like really?
I think it depends on the locale, right? Like we recently in Columbia County, where I live in Georgia, we recently had 2 officers that were gunned down. Well, one was gunned down, one was in serious condition. I never once thought that the perpetrator was black, only because in Columbia County it's like 98% white. So I just assumed that it was a white guy. But sure, if it's like an urban center, yeah, I will probably be like, probably a black guy. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't think that's weird to say that. I just think it depends on the locale. But do I go around at news stories and try and figure out who's doing what? No, I don't care about that.
Like, I think it depends on the crime. So, like, for example, like if I read somewhere there's somebody that's been like, if it's a high school where I hear about a teacher having sex with a kid, I typically like I know what it is. And typically when you look at read the article, it's somebody white.
Yep.
Or if you read about some type of pedophile doing something, like typically you hear about somebody that's white.
Yep.
Or if you hear about a child being killed by some type of person, typically if you read the article, you be like, this person like a white woman or something like that, and typically they're white.
Yep.
Or
School shooters too.
Yeah, my thing is the only time maybe bad to say, but when they say someone held someone captive in their basement,
Yeah.
I don't think black people doing that one. I don't think that's not us there.
So that's perfect. Like you know what, you my dog, man.
We agree now. It's
Because-
the third time
It's
today.
the
It's the
third
third
time.
time.
Wow, look at us.
Because
Wow.
you know what, you give me the perfect segue into my next question.
What's that?
So here's what I want to know, right? Because everybody likes to talk about black on black crime, black on black crime, black on black crime, right? So why is it? I want to know, what is it that's in the mind of a lot of white people that cause them to, number one, shoot up schools, shoot up churches, shoot up people like theaters, go into stores like Walmart, grocery stores, kill their kids, and lie like somebody else did it, and all these serial and mass killings? What is it? Why do you think that primarily happens in the white race? What causes them to do the things that they do?
This is a great question. Truly. It's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer, but I'm going to do my best. It is a great question because I'm kind of interested myself. I do think all of the scenarios that you recently, that we just went through just a minute ago, are absolutely correct. From pedophilia to school, absolutely, for teachers abusing kids, all of that is absolutely true. The one that I was actually was researching recently, this was not related to this, was there are actually black serial killers. I didn't know that. I thought that primarily serial killers were white people, and that's not true. We just hear about the white ones,
Right.
like Bundy and stuff.
That's because of what we talked about on the previous show. White serial killers or white mafia, they're celebrated.
Yes.
They're
true.
cherished. They're put up on the pedestal. Oh, look what he did. Look at Al Capone. But what about the black ones? What about,
Yeah.
we're considered thugs and criminals. They're thugs and criminals also. But at the same time, they're put on the pedestal.
Right. So like, I think that leads into like what you said. If you look at it, they will always highlight the black on black crime and what blacks do amongst themselves. And then they say, oh, this is bad. And then they say, hey, look at this white person, they do X, Y, and Z. It's another way to keep society divided.
Absolutely. I mean, we will continue to talk about media narratives on this podcast. And my biggest gripe with, in addition to the scumbag politicians, are the scumbag media people who use these. I'll give great examples. I mean, when you look at indigenous women who have gone missing, there's no attention paid to any of that. Why is that? Because it doesn't sell anything. When there was a recent case, I forget her last name, but a girl named Gabby was lost in one of the national parks. That case got huge attention, but yet we have people of all different shapes and colors going missing all the time, but it's only the white women that we typically hone in on as a country. That's it's certainly a problem, and it's disgusting in my opinion, but this is all framed by our media narrative. They do this all the time because they are in the business to get you upset. They're in the business to get clicks, and they're in the business to sell a narrative. I think we can all three agree on that. Whether we agree on what the narrative is, I think we all disagree on that. But ultimately, I do think that you're absolutely correct to say that this happens frequently. I don't know that I actually understand it. I don't know why white culture in and of itself does this. I do know from an American standpoint, our country has been violent since its inception. We're built on violence. It's just what we do. From our breaking away from England to where we are today, everything has been predicated on that violent streak that we have in our nation. We have some of the highest crime rates in the entire world. We have some of the highest drug use in the entire world. I don't know that I can systematically break that down on this episode. I think it's a great topic. We should probably go into that into another one of our episodes. But from a from this perspective, why are white people committing those things? I don't really know. I do think that we have to take into account the amount of white people there are in the United States. So we're 70% of the population. So it does make sense that on average, more white people would be committing more things in general. But you're right to say that there are particular categories where it's like 98% white, and that doesn't make any sense based on our current demographics. So I don't know. I really would be interested in researching that. I think that would be a great topic for a future episode.
I think I have the answer.
Please.
To skip around to another question.
Go
Do
ahead.
you believe in white privilege? Is it real? That's an example of it all. So
Okay.
you can't say it's not. I'm saying it's real because of all the examples that we just gave. A lot of those crimes, black people are like, nah, they're going to get my black ass. But
Well, first I would ask you to define what white privilege is.
everything we just talked about, what makes white people feel like it's okay to go into a school and shoot it up? What makes them think they're going to get away with it?
Right.
What makes it okay for them to curse out a police officer and throw things and shoot at people? And like, for example, the case here that we just had here. What do you think was going through his mind when they were trying to serve him those papers? And he felt like it was okay for him to shoot at them.
Correct.
That's all. Everything that we just mentioned are things that we talk about in our black households. I don't know about you, but I know I talk about
Oh, man.
how that all kind of goes into white privilege. A lot of white people say they don't have privilege.
Yes, you do.
Things that you would do, we just can't do.
We're not able to do it at all. We're not able to do it.
No.
By no shape, form, or
Even though it's supposed to be freedom of speech, right? As long as you don't directly threaten a police officer, he's not supposed to touch you. If we tell a police officer, F you, kiss my, they are locking us up.
Yeah.
I've seen white people curse them out, threaten them, everything. They're like, okay, calm down. That's an example of white privilege.
So I'd say inherently that I don't believe in white privilege, but I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
Because all of your points are valid. I agree with all of them, actually. I think the privilege argument is hard because what you're saying is privilege is universal. So what I would say is you're not going to go to a gentleman who is white in Appalachia and tell him that he has privilege, because he doesn't. I'm going to guarantee that. When he's living in that shack on the mountain and he has a beard that's 95 feet long and he's raising goats and things like that, that is not a privileged person in my opinion. I think privilege comes down, it's more nuanced than that. Do I believe that in police interactions, white people have more privilege? Yes, 100%. But do I believe in the concept of universal white privilege? Absolutely not. I think that what we have is we have privilege that's associated with different things. You have economic privilege. When you have $1 billion, you're treated differently than someone who has a few thousand. It's just the truth. You can get away with anything. I mean, we were talking about P. Diddy recently, and our conversation was, we as a community knew that this guy was doing this forever. Why? How come you all didn't know? And my thing is because he's rich. That's why I think.
And
I
R.
don't think
Kelly.
Right, and well connected. I mean, you look at Epstein. Why did Epstein get away with what he got away with? Because all the people involved were some of our highest people in the country, which is why we continue to not know what the heck happened with that. But that's a whole other story. But I think it comes down to there are varying degrees of privilege. I mean, I'm not going to deny that your interactions as black people with the police are not inherently different than mine. I totally agree with that. You will never get any pushback from me on that. But do I believe that in every situation that there is privilege attached to that because I'm white? No, I don't. I just don't agree with that. I think it just depends. I think it depends on a variety of factors. It depends on how you were raised. It depends on how much money you have. It depends on what part of the country you grew up. It depends if you're a black person and you go to the bayou, you're probably going to be treated differently. If I'm a white guy and I go into like hanging out with the Crips and the Bloods, am I going to be treated the same way? Probably not. I just think that it's varied. I don't think that there's a yes or a no answer to this. I think it is varied. And if you give me a situation, I will tell you straight up, yes, that's an example of white privilege. And no, that's not an example of white privilege. So I just think it's more nuanced than that. I don't like generalization stuff. It doesn't work for me.
So, like, I know, see, that's the thing, right? So, like, you want to talk about its nuances and stuff like that. But You can take a white person and a black person, same qualifications, same experience, apply for a job. Both have the qualifications, but who do you think they're gonna hire?
I mean, in recent history, probably the black person,
Negative.
because there's
Negative.
because there's quotas and stuff that you have to meet sometimes.
But so like here's the crazy thing about, and I wish I could remember who said this, but it was on social media where there was a white lady who said that pretty much in a nutshell, like black people aren't as smart as her, nor have the same qualifications as her. So if they apply for the job, she knows she would get it over them.
Okay, that's one person.
But that is what the society is based off of, right? So like literally, it doesn't matter if you are a lot in the society. One of the privileges of a white person is no matter what your qualifications are and who you are, 9 out of 10 you will get hired before a black person or another person of another gender or another race will get employed. That's why like certain things are put. There were certain things that are put into place. Like literally, we could be judged by how we look, how we dress. Doesn't matter. You can come in and dress the same as that way as a black person. 9 out of 10, they're gonna probably hire you over us.
So you're saying that if, as a white person, if I come into a job interview and I look like Hassan, just it's a joke, but if I look like I'm a gangbanger or something like that, or I look like I was involved with, let's just say Hell's Angels. So that kind of a Hell's Angels is a big fat white guy with a giant beard and tattoo. We all know the stereotype, right? Yeah. You're telling me that if that guy comes in and then Paul comes in, that they're going to hire the Hell's Angels member. That's what you're telling me. Yep. Because that's what you're saying is that just because he's white.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I think it depends on the leadership at the time.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like who's in charge. Because like even from where I'm from, a lot of Hispanics will only hire Hispanics.
Right.
A lot of blacks will only hire blacks. So I think it really depends on the mindset of the current leadership. Because they want to hire people they want to hire. And you have to also remember that racists work with us.
Yeah, they do.
So it doesn't matter if you're black or white, I think. Like if I own a company and I'm a black racist, I'm not hiring you as a white guy. Right. It's the same thing. I don't think it's necessarily your color. I think it all depends on the leadership. And a lot of us, and that's one of the next questions, a lot of us are intimidating to them. So would you want to really work with someone who intimidates the hell out of you? I wouldn't. It's just like, for example, you ever walked in a room full of white people and you became uncomfortable? Like, we all are black people. Like, we look for each other.
No, I haven't.
We look for each other in those rooms.
Yeah,
we gravitate to each other.
But I haven't ever walked into a room full of white people and felt intimidated.
No, I didn't say intimidated. I said uncomfortable.
No, like I haven't felt uncomfortable. Like if I walk in through like a room full of white people, I'd be like, all right, like I'm about to show you. That's my mindset. Like I'm about to show you because I know of those stereotypical tropes that have been placed. I'm like, okay, you think I'm one way, but I'm going to show you that I'm another. That just amps me up. I'm not even going to front because I literally have been told like one time when I was in the military, and they was like, "Why are you talking like that? Why are you talking with so much slang?" I said, "Oh, so you think that I'm not educated?" Yeah. Okay. So then I politely pull out my wallet. So that's my associate's degree. That's my bachelor's degree. Don't get it twisted. I'm very educated. So let me show you how educated I am. But then I start talking with proper articulation. Then a white person back down. And then we can talk about now where I work at. When I was in uniform and I was clean cut, people looked at me totally differently. But then when I come in, I'm wearing a suit and I have locks and a beard. White people treat me differently. They treat me like they standoffish, like I'm intimidating. And that's a fact.
You are a little intimidating though, if you think about it. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm not intimidating at all.
Not to me. I just mean in general.
I mean, and even when I walk in the store, like I walk by people's cars and they've locked the doors. White people, that is. Doesn't matter if I'm wearing a suit or like I'm wearing like street clothes. That's what I literally have experienced.
But I mean, we can all come up with anecdotal things, right? It's easy for us to sit here and be like, well, I was in this situation and this person looked at me and they gave me the middle finger and it's because of whatever I've invented. I mean, I'm not saying, again, I want to preface this. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying that there are nuances and that we always tend to, as people, jump to the first thing that comes to mind. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. I just lock my doors when I see somebody come by my car, Paul, because I don't know who the hell they are and I'm wondering what they're up to. Whether you're black, white, or indigo, I'm probably, especially if you're a dude, I'm probably going to lock my car doors because I don't trust you because there's a lot of crime. I mean, we live in a good area, but there's still crime. I don't trust anyone. You said yourself, I don't trust anyone. That's why I don't have friends. And I'm totally on that boat with you. And my thing is, I don't trust anyone. I don't know what you're up to. Why are you sneaking around my car? I don't give a shit what your color is. I want to know what you're up to. If Logan was sneaking around my car, I'd damn sure lock the doors because I definitely don't trust Logan.
At 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. Nah, bro, what you doing?
You should be out at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning the first damn place. I'm just saying.
And Logan works on cars too. He gonna steal something off of it.
She was like, my grandpa. She was like, my grandparents said, like, the only thing open after 12 is the club and legs. Like, I'm just saying. So, like,
You never heard that before? Yeah.
so in other words, like, if you have no reason being out after 12 o'clock, keep your ass at home.
Listen, I just try and be fair about it, right?
Yeah.
If you come to me with a situation, Paul, and you're like, these are the facts, this is what happened, then, and you say, I think it was racism, I'm going to be probably like, yeah, that sounds like racism to me. But again, I think we need to start getting in the mindset that I need to hear the facts first before I tell you whether or not I think it was that thing. And I think too often with everything, it's not just race, but too often we are always jumping to conclusions, and I think that that's a detriment to our society when we do that. We need to be sensible. We need to take our time. We need to understand. And sometimes people just say stupid things. I mean, I've said the dummiest things. You can ask Coach. I've said horrible things that have come out of my mouth, and I just haven't thought about it. It just comes out.
If you think about it, everything we're talking about right now may sound racist to someone.
That's true.
Absolutely.
But I'm
That's
not a
true.
racist.
Like-
I just don't like individual people. I don't care if you're white. If you did, I don't like you.
Right.
You know?
My dad used to say, I hate everyone equally. That's true. Right? You can just hate everyone. You can hate humanity. I mean, I can certainly understand that viewpoint, especially at times.
And this kind of goes into the last question.
Okay.
Have you ever been afraid of a black person simply because they're black?
No. I will say though, when you first came into the office, I will say when Hassan first came into the office. Now you want to talk about hiring black folk? I mean, not to put myself out there or like but you were one of our hires, and we had many white people that we overturned because we liked Hassan so much.
And I was seen on camera.
Yeah,
So they
that's
knew.
true. Right. We knew what you looked like. You big
Tattoos
felon.
on my neck,
Right,
on my
yeah.
hands and everything. So, Logan, he was kind of shaky though when I first got
Right.
Logan was like,
Yeah. But when Hassan first came into the office, this is a good example. I mean, he went under a different name, which I thought was a very white name. So I come into the office. I'm gonna use a different name. This is not his name. John. John came into the office. I'm like, well, where's John? Well, let's just call him Johnny. Johnny came into the office. I'm like, where the hell is Johnny? Where is he? And I see this big tattooed burly black man standing over there. I'm like, nah, that's not a Johnny.
That's him?
So I keep looking. I'm looking all over. I go over to our producer Logan. I'm like, where is this Johnny guy? And he's like, that's him right there. I'm like, the black one? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, because I had no idea. So I mean, you get into those situations where you don't know what to expect, and I mean, I don't know how comfortable you felt coming into the office, but we have a pretty diverse group of people.
we do
for sure.
Yeah.
So as everything, Paul, it depends. It just depends. It depends on the situation. I think I can't be a universal yes guy to everything and a no guy to everything. It depends on what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I was on camera with the smallest, most fragile looking white woman, and she hired me.
Oh, she's dope, though.
I'm serious, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah,
she hired me, and the other guy was half and half.
Yeah, she's
So
dope.
like,
Yeah, she's dope, though.
like,
Yeah, like I know her. Like she's a cool person, though. I know her. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
so like I said, it all depends on the leadership. I don't think it has nothing to do with. I'm not trying to say ever, but
Yeah.
a lot of times it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with if you're black or white. It doesn't have anything to do with it. Because to be honest with you, if I was that little tiny fragile looking white woman, I'd be like, I don't want him in the office with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, really.
Yeah.
Usually that's the stereotype right there. Usually that's what we think.
Right.
And when I saw, I said, oh damn, I ain't getting this job. I'm not gonna get it. Oh well, just be me.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem that like sometimes a lot of people have. They're afraid to just be them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They want to put on a facade and try to be something that they're not. Mm-hmm. But that's not genuine. It's not authentic.
Yep. I totally agree with that. And I think that's why podcasts like this will succeed, is because it's genuine and authentic. None of us are trying to be anything that we're not. We say what we think, whether people agree or not. Well, that's another thing entirely.
But you did bring up Diddy. You know what I'm
I
saying?
did, yeah.
You did bring up Diddy.
Because I was talking to Hassan about that, and he said, y'all didn't know? And I'm like, what do you mean, didn't know what? He was like, as a community, we knew this years ago.
Yeah, even with R. Kelly.
Yeah,
you know the R. Kelly too.
yeah, I
What was
know.
that?
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah, but hey.
And they just now.
Right?
But here's the crazy thing about it, though. Do you know who was Diddy and R. Kelly before Diddy and R. Kelly came about?
Hugh Hefner.
There you go. And guess what? Then nothing happened to
That's
him.
white privilege right there.
That is
here we
the
go.
epitome of
That's
white privilege. That's
Hugh
white
Hefner,
privilege.
he had him doing
He had
the exact same
exact same thing.
But instead, they call Diddy's the freak offs. His was the Playboy Mansion parties.
Yeah. And
You
guess
know
what? And guess what? He had them same underage girls, just like R. Kelly did.
What year was this?
He did
It
up
does
until-
matter.
He
Are
did
you
up until
kidding
he died.
Yep.
He did until he died.
Are you kidding me, Paul? What year was this? I mean, he's been dead for 10 years.
But still, though, he did it up until he died. Legitly. He was sleeping in the bed with him. Like, what you talking about? Like, that's legit. That's legit. But didn't nobody touch Hugh Hefner?
It was a different time. Right?
People touched it.
Yeah.
More than one.
Yeah, but
And maybe underage.
but still, like, he was not done like none of the public figures like this out there, like R. Kelly or Diddy. He was not put on trial.
I don't know about all this. I mean, I think it was a different time entirely. When was Hefner prominent? And don't tell me his whole life.
Up
is
until
not
he
true.
died.
Up until he died.
He was having those Playboy parties.
Exactly. Up until
He
he
was.
died.
You know if underage people were in there? Come on, Paul. That's quite
Yes.
There's documentaries on it.
It's documentaries on it.
You
Like
never seen
legit.
them? Yeah.
Like legit, he had underage girls in there. That's legit. That is legitimate.
I have no idea. I don't follow Hugh Hefner. I don't follow Diddy either. I got to be honest. I have no idea. But I don't. R. Kelly was wild though. That was wild with the PPs. You know what I mean? That was wild.
Yo, like they all listen. So like, that's the thing, man. Like, people choose who they want to persecute, and if you look at those two people, they got too big, and they didn't stay with the status quo.
All right. So what's your solution? What do we do to make it better, in your opinion? You don't have to have all the answers. I'm just asking you for what do you think we would need to change in order to get that to happen?
Parents need a parent.
I agree with you on that.
Parents need a parent.
They allowed it.
Parents need to parent.
Hey, you agree with him 4 times now.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
That's great.
And like I think that is the answer to the systemic issues that we deal today, because now they feel like a parent is not able to parent, and I would like to say that's completely BS.
Yep.
You can't be afraid to raise your kids. You cannot be afraid to police your kids. You cannot be afraid to teach your kids. You cannot be afraid to sit down at a table, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and have real open discussions. Parenting is what's the issue with society today, bar none.
I'd actually add one to that, and I think Hassan's very familiar with this. My way of breaking down the bounds is through humor. I mean, I'll say some horrible things at work just to see what people's reaction are,
Yeah.
because I think it's funny. Now, not everyone. You have to know your audience.
Yeah,
Know
you
your
do,
audience.
you do.
Don't be just saying things to weirdo people. You get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think that I agree with you. Parenting's number one, but I also think having a light heart about it, being able to have respectful conversations with people, not sucking their ass, to actually tell them what you really think, not being afraid of that. You may disagree. You may think the other person's opinion is absolutely terrible. I'm sure half of my opinions today you thought were terrible, which is fine. But the importance is the dialogue, and not just saying we're having dialogue, but actually doing it. Actually sitting there and listening to someone, coming up with different perspectives and laying that out, I think is very important. And doing it with humor helps because that it breaks it down. It really does.
Yeah, like without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, that concludes this episode of Black Chat. Thanks, Logan, Paul, Robert, Robbie J. Comment, subscribe. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on X. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
iHeartRadio.
Yeah, iHeart. Where else?
We're on them all.
Yeah.
All right. Any social media platform that you're on, we're probably there. Just ask us.
We're not on Vine. They don't have Vine anymore.
I don't have Vine anymore.
Yeah, no Vine. We don't do that.
R.I.P. to Vine. Vine was a good one.
Yeah.
But this
It was
podcast.
TikTok before TikTok was trash.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
Peace.